Honcast.com presentation on Breaky CPK. Gonna be your shoutcasting host, and joining me is actually Xander K of the Honcast staff. And I said Honcast presentation, and I'm just so used to saying that. This is actually not a Honcast.com presentation. We are casting on behalf of GosuGamers.net. This is, of course, the GosuGamers World Cup, the losers bracket finals. This is the matchup that so many people have been anticipating, waiting for. Of course, the winner of this will go on to the grand finals, where Fnatic MSI has been sitting and waiting patiently. But first things first, we need to see who's going to play them, and we have that good old classic rivalry matchup of SK Gaming taking on EG, aka Evil Geniuses. This should be good. Of course, it is a best out of 3 series. Looking forward to it, but first things first, like I said, I'm joined by Xander K, also of Honcast.com. How you doing, Ken?
I'm good, and this is getting all nice and official now. I'm very excited, very excited. Like you said, this match has been weeks in the making. It's gonna be epic with all this hype behind it. It's gonna be good to get it finally underway.
Yeah, it's for how much time it has had to build up in terms of hype, like you said. I'm sure it's because of the time, unfortunately, definitely not expecting a crazy live audience, but I'm sure the VODs will be hit up, and it has to be. I cannot see this series not being good. I cannot see it being one-sided. I mean, I did say the same thing. We'll talk about that. EG, to get here, they did lose to Fnatic MSI in the losers or the winners bracket finals, and that is why they dropped down here, of course, to face SK Gaming. They lost pretty badly to Fnatic MSI, almost embarrassingly, and so it was kind of like they're coming off of that. Again, it was 3 weeks ago though, so there's been a lot of time in between to think about it and get ready for this matchup against SK Gaming. Whereas SK Gaming, they're coming off a 2-game winning streak. They were actually knocked to the losers bracket by the same EG team earlier on in the winners bracket of the tournament. So if you're following me, you could also, of course, you could check out the full brackets at GosuGamers.net/Han. But basically, SK Gaming then had to defeat Online Kingdom and deal with it, aka DWI, to get to this point, and that's not an easy road by any means. So SK Gaming proving that they belong here, and they belong to compete against EG and perhaps compete against an MSI in the grand finals. It's going to be a hell of a series.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really surprising how the road that SK has gone through to get up to this point. We were talking about it a little bit on the pre-show, and they beat some tough teams. I mean, they faced some rough competition, and we were talking about how SK really has been on the up recently, and that's a really big positive for them because they are, a founding, I guess you can call it a founding team of the whole Heroes of Newerth community. They've been around forever, at least in some facet or way. Obviously, the last couple, Testy is one of the only remaining members from the original set, but they're such an important team and it's such an important organization behind it. It's good to see them doing so well, and of course, EG, you got to expect them to be here, and it's the matchup,
Yeah, again, it's SK, perhaps it has the underdog tag, but beside their name for a lot of people. Again, we were talking about the GosuGamers bets pre-game, which honestly was a little bit more closer than I expected personally. It ended up finishing around 66% in favor of EG compared to the 34% for SK Gaming, I believe. So, still a decent gap, but yeah, I mean, that shows 34% of the community believes that SK Gaming, at least from that poll, has a chance to pull through with a victory here in this best of 3 series. So, you lose here, though. If you do happen to lose here in this best of 3 series, you're still going home with $3,000. Definitely a lot of money, again, for this GosuGamers World Cup event. S2 has also had a big hand in it as well. So it's been the biggest event, obviously, for Heroes of Newerth in their history. And to finally get down to the very near the finish with the losers bracket finals here, really, really, really looking forward to it. So the picks have already started, of course. With that said, let's talk about the usual bans. From my understanding, there were no automatic bans. All heroes are eligible. So let's talk about the actual bans on the screen. Of course, 4 bans for either team. We are looking at Dampier, Slither, Dr. Repulsor, Hellbringer, Pharaoh, Pebbles, Thunderbringer, and Bombardier. So Dampier is banned. Unfortunately, we don't get to see him. He's definitely considered a powerful hero, the newest hero in the game. Not going to see him here as he is banned. The other bans, really nothing off the wall as expected, especially with this being game one. You know, as the series goes on, of course, definitely expect some different bands depending on how the games go. But, yeah, really aggressive fields. Of course, Pharaoh, very popular for both these teams. Pebbles as well. Thunderbringer, a given. Hellbringer, an awesome teamfight initiator. Yeah, so you have any thoughts or comments to make on the bands here, Phil? Or, excuse me, Ken?
No, like you said, pretty standard as these two teams go, and I do love the once again I can't get over it. The addition of the fourth band has been so nice. It takes out those nice little heroes that you're like, well, they like playing them, so we're not having this in the game. It just opens up new little avenues for teams to do something new, and apparently, according to both teams, they're really confident with their strategy, so we'll see what that ends up being.
As my game is kind of freaking out on me.
My game's fine.
Yeah, my game's like flipping out on me, so give me a second real quick. I might need to close out of it.
Super.
One sec. Let me do this real quick.
You just timed out?
Yeah, something's definitely not right. It's like... Yeah, I just got no response from server out of nowhere. That was random. Oh, somebody's pretty much trying to screw me over here. 1 second.
Gotta love it.
Doo-doo-doo. With that said, I will log out right here, and that should be good. Okay, should be safe now. All right, sorry about that. Obviously, have some trolls out there that like to be funny. Okay, so now that we're back, so the picking stage has started, of course, and always the intriguing part. We're waiting now on the last couple of picks over here for EG. As oh yeah, I forgot you cannot do that. 1 second. Yeah, I'm getting screwed all over the place. I had to go invisible. All right.
Nice.
Now I'm back in. Now we should be good.
Good timing.
Okay. So, waiting on the last two picks over here for EG with 2 seconds left, and there we go. Ooh, how about that? Right-click in the Sand Wraith, and that's who they finished with, and it swapped immediately to B-Kid right there.
Ready.
And he insta-ready, so confidence over here on EG. I love it, I love it, I love it. Now, Sand Wraith not as popular in the American scene from what I recall. I mean, he definitely is popular, of course, in the European scene, and Southeast Asia even used quite a bit, but can't say I recall seen him quite a bit in the American scene, but he's going to be used here in this classic matchup and played by B-Kid on top of that. Again, B-Kid not necessarily known as a carry player for the team, definitely more of an initiator, ganker, support even, but he's very confident, obviously with that quick ready up, and going to be playing the Sand Wraith here in this case. They also follow up that pick with Bubbles, Voodoo Jester, Andromeda, and Wretched Hag. We get to see Chu playing Wretched Hag. That's another very popular pick right there. Always exciting to see that matchup, or that player play Wretched Hag. And then, of course, they got definitely a lot of trial lane potential, very good trial lane potential for that Sand Wraith, Voodoo Jester, and Andromeda. And then Bubbles, more than likely in the long lane, short lane, wherever they decide to have him solo, being played by Seibuska. A very, very solid team. They got an excellent gank team early on, and I think that's the best team to build around a hero like Sand Wraith. You play active early on, you let him get that farm, and then he will take over the late game.
Let's get it on. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to be their plan, and they have two heroes in those solo lanes that are going to just be absolutely devastating, provided that they can get the farm, and I'm sure they will. Obviously, Chu on Wretched Hag is something we've talked about hundreds of times before. He's so very dangerous, and another good thing, of course, is Sand Wraith couldn't ask for better babysitters in that tri lane as well. With Dodo and Yoda playing Voodoo Jester and Andromeda, two best ones you can ask for at this point in the game.
Yeah, something we didn't bother mentioning was the Fuji Apples is not playing for EG here. Obviously, pretty standout. Yoda is actually taking his place again. EG does have a roster of 7 players or so, I believe 7 or 8 maybe, and we have seen the switcher team, but Fuji Apples is definitely part. If you switch Yoda for Fuji Apples, that would be considered their main match or main lineup, but they are going with with Wretched Hag, wow, I'm totally all over the place. Getting distracted here with Yoda instead, and he is playing Andromeda. Yoda, of course, a very dominating player, so yeah, should be entertaining, but that's definitely noteworthy, especially for such a big match, not playing with him. But again, Yoda definitely gets substitute in, and I'm sure they'll be just fine. Yeah, I'm here. Okay. There we go. Had to get that out of the way, of course. They're not paused for me, are they? I don't think they are.
I don't think so.
Might pause for somebody else. No one's loading, but whatever.
They know that you're there, so.
Okay. All right, so kind of get back on track here. I've had a couple of interruptions, but let's get back on momentum. Here we go. All right, so we've already gone over the Hellborn side, of course, and their lineup. So I love their team. I really do. They're on the Hellborn side. They got a great tri-lane, excellent solo mid and Chu playing Wretched Hag, and then a great Sebuska on Bubbles to take care of the long lane, like I said. So I think they're going to be very, very powerful laning phase, and an entertaining team at that because of their setup. As far as SK Gaming now goes, they went with, of course, a couple of interesting picks themselves. They decided to go with Forsaken Archer, Flint Beastwood, Chipper, Behemoth, and Myrmidon. So those are the 5 heroes over there for SK Gaming. Myrmidon definitely has been making more of a splash on the scene. I love entertaining myself. No, but he's definitely been more involved in the competitive scene. He is going to be running a tri-lane, and that again, he is a very good tri-lane support player. Obviously, having really a double stun when you think about it. Obviously, the Magic Carapace, they have to keep running, but it definitely makes him stop running to avoid the stun. So, in a sense, you can say he has 2 stuns with that on the Weed Field. Behemoth, also a great, they have those 2 heroes with kind of similar Fissure-style abilities. And then Forsaken Archer, a 3rd stun. So that's going to be a dangerous, very aggressive lane themselves. And I think they picked very well to match up against the Sand Wraith and cause a lot of issues for them. Of course, they're going to have solo mid with Chipper being played by Angry Testy. So we are going to see Angry Testy going up against Chu. That's always a lot of fun. And then Flint Beastwood, he's actually going to be soloing the short lane against Bubbles, and that should be pretty convenient for him. So, as I said for EG, I'm also a fan of SK Gaming's lineup. I definitely tend to lean a little bit towards more, of course, EG and their late game presence with the Sandwraith pickup. But SK Gaming, they can definitely make an early game presence themselves and try to end this one sooner than later with carries like Forsaken Archer and Flint Beastwood.
Yeah, their lineup is a little bit less orthodox, I guess, as EG's, but still very strong. And it does rely on those solo lane heroes, but this top lane is certainly going to be very interesting. I love the Behemoth Myrmidon combination. It's just so much time to land all those stuns, and Forsaken Archer as well. So you do have that tri-stun up at the top, and that's going to be very, very hard to deal with, even if it's tri-lane on tri-lane, which is what it's going to be. And yeah, that top lane is going to be super interesting to watch. We're really excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, it really is. No doubt it's going to be action-packed. I mean, when you have tri-lane versus tri-lane, it's really a given in general, but of course, both sides have so many stuns. In fact, 5 out of the 6 heroes really have a stun-style ability, of course, so it should be really entertaining. But yeah, I do like SK's picks, and they're matching up against the picks of EG, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Sandwraith is going to do his best, of course, to get those last hits in there. Going to take a lot of harassment from Forsaken Archer, no doubt, is really good at that, but hopefully with the support of Voodoo Jester and Andromeda, and also Andromeda doing the creep pulls should help him out quite a bit. Need to make sure to keep on top of that. But with that said, Myrmidon and Behemoth, like they're doing right now, or Myrmidon and Forsaken Archer actually, they're going to start roaming themselves and try to maybe even catch them while they're doing some of those creep pulls and catch them off guard. So going to be entertaining up there. We'll definitely keep an eye on that and see how the action plays out as the middle lane goes. I really am excited. Wretched Hag versus Chipper, Angry Testy versus Chu. Always very entertaining. Arguably considered 2 of the top, easily, I think you can say top 5 middle solo players in the game right now in terms of their players, with Chu and Angry Testy, so that's a lot of fun to watch. And then Sebuska against Fogged here at the bottom lane. That's another very, very, very good matchup, not only from the heroes, but the players as well. So, but, Flint Beastwood being in the short lane, going to have that somewhat advantage, and obviously the range that he has, going to be able to harass Bubbles quite a bit, but Bubbles definitely has some harassment himself. Right now, Flint Beast at a slight level advantage. I do not have the scoreboard up. I apologize. There we go. Scoreboard is now up. But you look at some early farm, again, of course, it's very early on in the game. Just hit 2 minutes, so the 2-minute rune just spawned. Happens to be bottom an Invis rune. But currently, nothing standing out too much. I mean, very even on either side in terms of farm. And once again, you see more creep pulling going on, and the Legion team kind of trying to stop them from doing it effectively and go over there to harass them a little bit.
Yeah, those creep pulls obviously going to be so important, and of course, Beta's on SK being very up on counter warding those pulls, so they cannot control their lane as well as they might like to. Obviously, that's a big problem for them, but they're going to be doing well enough at least. And here comes the pause, but the closer this lane gets to the tower, the more liable you're going to see some sort of initiation.
Do have another pause here, of course, as was called by EG. So again, in games like this, with so much online, as intense as it is, you gotta make sure everything is good. You know, there's some loud noise outside. You gotta get that figured out, or if your cell phone starts ringing,
Alarms.
You know, those car alarms going off. I mean, distractions happen, and they can definitely hinder your performance. So. You know, or there's also the good old bathroom call, when nature calls just all of a sudden. So, whatever the reason is here, it was called by EG, and we will wait for it to resume. This ain't no replay cast. It's been a while since we did a live cast. In fact, DYA, of course, was the last time we did a live cast. Still working on our personal delay software, but GosuGamer has actually, I believe, Own TV are the ones that are providing the delay for this. So, props to them. And always nice to have a software good to go for events like this. It is 6 minutes, according to them, and I believe it is pretty much exact. Did some testing earlier. Anyway, so back to the game. Not too much action early on. I'm a little bit surprised at that. We're now getting up to the 3-minute mark. There really hasn't been much back and forth at this try versus try at the top side. It's been more so just, you know, kind of jungling, getting those creep pulls in, and getting the farm. Of course, definitely expected to really pick up. But for right now so far, not too much of that happening. Samurai just hit level 3. He is the first one to do so by quite a bit, in fact. You see Forsaken Archer not even halfway through level 2 yet. So Sandwraith is definitely in a pretty solid position. Again, those creep pulls definitely really helping him out. In fact, Voodoo Jester and Andromeda also just setting level 3. So right now it is an advantage for EG with the farm they have up there. And it's looking pretty good for them early on. But, of course, with that said, it is very early on. And things can change around very quickly as Yoda is joining back into the game. There goes the OK Go. And we should be resuming. Here we go. Yay!
Yay. Also wanted to point out Bubble's doing a fairly good job in the bottom lane early on, getting a good amount of denies, but he's also receiving some heavy harassment from Fogged. But he does have the last hit lead as he's up from 9 to 7 on him, so that's really good so far for Bubbles.
Yeah, so you look at the matchup, Bubbles 9-4, Flint Beastwood 8-7, so yeah, really back and forth. But yeah, like you said, Bubble's not doing too bad again. Sebuska, I like to say personally, I've said it many times before, I consider to be one of the best, if not the best, ricer in the game, aka farmer, guy that just knows how to farm, knows how to get those creep kills, knows where to be at all times, it seems like, to get the creep kills. And although Bubbles isn't necessarily that hero you really are crazy about getting that awesome farm on, definitely can benefit from it, of course, but more so really just focus on those levels. But right now, Fogged is causing a little pressure on him, wants to make sure that he doesn't get any free experience and free kills in there. You see him launching that flare and then throwing in the auto attacks as well. Speaking of Flint Beastwood's build, he has gone 2-1-1 currently, so he wanted that range, as well as level 1 at least in the RNG Hollow Point Shells. As far as the middle matchup, Chipper against Wretched Hag. Again, nothing too much going on in terms of action. 15-6 Chipper compared to a 16-10 Wretched Hag. So Wretched Hag does have the slight advantage there as well. We do see Andromeda picking up an illusion rune and looking to set up a gank, but unfortunately Yoda just disconnected. That's not good, and he is already walking back to base. That is really unfortunate because it would have been actually a really good gank opportunity right there. He is reconnecting. And I believe he just reconnected. In fact, he's already back in. Ooh, they just wasted a pause on that. That's unfortunate. You only get 3 pauses now. And I believe that is their second. I don't know if they did the first pause of the game or not. But so we are going to resume right away, I believe. As the only reason why I'm ignoring people, by the way, is because since I'm invisible mode, I cannot ignore buddy messages, and so I just have to do it that way. So nothing personal. I'll not ignore them after the cast. But anyways,
First vote was SK.
Was it? Okay. Oh, there we go with that gank, though. As soon as he comes back, Chipper in a lot of trouble, dropping very low. Wretched in there as well with the Invis rune activated, using it as soon as she jumped in, and down goes Chipper. So finally, 4.5 minutes or so into the game, we see the Bloodlust kill, thanks to Yoda right there, setting it up. Voodoo Jester, in the meantime, at the top lane, he will go down as well to the hands of Traphamador on Forsaken Archer. So it took a little bit to finally get the action kicked off here, but we finally got it going, and we are now tied at 1 hero kill piece as a result. But definitely think it's the advantage for EG after that. Of course, losing Voodoo Jester compared to Chipper and getting the Bloodlust kill, they will take that. Andromeda, that is an illusion. Andromeda is so difficult to tell if she's an illusion or not, but going in right there, then falling back. Of course, not too much happening. But yeah, I did pull up the stats window. It's a 6-minute delay, guys. Come on now. All right, so
Good use by Chu on that Invis rune. I was going to bring him up that he had that on there. There's a little harass there from Chipper, almost dropping Chu down below the comfort zone. And also, I was going to point out that Cardinal had a great block on Voodoo Jester as kind of a counter kill there in the jungle. Not quite Bloodlust, so a little bit too late, but did trap Voodoo Jester in the absolute perfect way. And Andromeda is roaming down again. It looks like she's going to grab, or maybe not grab, but protect a haste rune here in the top.
Yeah, did you say that, as you said, protecting it, going by it, and letting Wretched Egg know what it is, and she's going to charge on over there, bottle up, and this could get interesting. Coming to the top lane, she already activates it, using those charges after. We see a stun happening on Myrmidon. There's a follow-up from Sandarith. In comes Wretched Egg right there, the new coming in, the Bat Blast on top of it, and Myrmidon goes down, so a 2-1 hero kill advantage in favor of EG currently. Behemoth and Forsaken Archer, just not much more they could do. Both the Fidgeter Stun and Crippling Volley were used throughout that, so a good job right there from Wretched Hag, setting that out perfectly, coming at the right time. Happened to be a perfect rune too, as it got her there very quickly, and was able to set up that kill. So yeah, it's been I'm not gonna lie, definitely has been a lot slower game than I really expected with this matchup here. Not only with the lineups, but the 3 versus 3 at the top lane. We're only 2-1 right now at the 7-minute mark, and there hasn't really been too much action. But at the right as I say that, at the top lane, we do have Voodoo Jester getting taken out for the second time in this game. That triple stun, oh so powerful, between Myrmidon, Behemoth, and Forsaken Archer. And then at the bottom lane, I'm missing a couple of action, I apologize here, but Bubbles goes down to Flint Beastwood. Flint Beastwood did not even need his ultimate for that. He's actually able to take him out with auto attacks and the flare ability. So good job right there. And actually SK Gaming with those couple of kills, they take the hero kill advantage, 3-2 now.
Yeah, that stun combination in the top is just terrifying. It's so hard to do anything to. Obviously, Behemoth has such a long-range stun, but then you follow it up with the combo, and Voodoo Jester went from full health to dead and didn't even move. And that's just so hard to deal with, especially in a tri-lane situation where, you know, one hero gets a tiny bit out of position, and all of a sudden it's 3-on-2, and that's just not good.
Yeah, in a matchup like this, the smallest of mistakes can definitely play a big role. That's why it's so fun to watch these top-tier teams going at it with so much on the line. I mean, again, you win this, you guarantee yourselves at least $2,000 more than you'd make of losing this, and that's a lot of money. Even though it's split between 5 players, it's still a lot of money. There's a weed field happening on Andromeda, dodging the magic carp, not going to matter though. The calm is done on the Behemoth, just not going to matter whatsoever. As Forsaken Archer, I believe, was able to actually finish him off, getting the credit for the kill right there. He gets slowed a little bit because of the purge creep, but is also dropping the neutral creeps in the process. Beakit up here on Sandwraith, he's busy just getting as much farm as possible while that is going on. In the meantime, the bottom lane, Hastrud once again from Wretched Hag, going to dive on a Flint Beast right here. Turtle Shell going out. Where's the Kelpfield? The Kelpfield is down, holding him in place. Isn't going to be enough for the actual kill. Bubbles goes down in the process. Flint Beast survives long enough to take him out at least. But Wretched Hag is there, thankfully, to clean up Fogged on Flint Beastwood. So the gank was successful. However, Bubbles did go down. So in that sense, maybe it wasn't as successful, because definitely did not have to have him get killed to get that kill. Just good play by Fogg, dodging, I believe, the initial Turtle Shell, and actually surviving long enough to get that hero kill himself. Just made the best of the situation pretty much. I was going to talk about real quickly B-Kid's farm on Sandwraith, always important, of course. Right now, currently 22-4. You compare that to Forsaken Archer, 40-13. So clearly it is not an ideal start for Sandwraith right here, for EG as a team. They really need him to get a solid farm. You know, with that said, we have seen it before. Despite Sandwraith getting off to a slow start, he can definitely recover and not do too shabby. Wow! Andromeda just got melted right there. Looking to set up a gank onto Chipper, but Myrmidon happened to be there as well. And downwind Andromeda could not do anything about that. Just wrong place, wrong time. So SK Gaming definitely has a slight advantage here early on in this game.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing we did not mention at the pick screen is that SK is very, very, very stun heavy. There's a lot of disables, a lot of abilities to take a hero out of whack on SK's side, and that's been really positive for them thus far. But Voodoo Jester has just been like completely victimized by this top lane, and Andromeda as well. You know, no matter where they go, it seems like they're always running into somebody. Chipper running through the Hellborn Ancients jungle and porting out of there. Testy getting back to base as a result. But Trow in that top lane also has those 2 kills on top of that huge last hit margin that he has over Sandwraith. So real big positive there for SK. But B-Kid on Sandwraith does have that extra level. Well, they are tied now, but there is an experience gap there for Sandwraith. So that's one positive, is he does need those levels.
Yeah, it definitely does, and currently about 6.5 right now for him. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, and seeing how B-Kid progresses on that Sandwraith. With that said, though, they really need Wretched Hag to have a big early game. So far, not doing too shabby, but might be in a little bit of trouble right here. Goes on to Chipper. Chipper using that focus buffer he has, and not going to be nearly enough damage to finish either one of them off. So kind of just a back-and-forth harassment right there. But Wretched Hag definitely put an initiative. Oh, goes in back in once again, using the Sonar Scream Bat Blast combination, and Chipper just was not ready for that. He ends up going down despite having that focus buffer activated. In the meantime, Money Shot to kill Bubbles at the bottom lane as he tried to get away. So, you know, what's the kill on Chipper? Good news for EG, but the kill on Bubbles, bad news for EG, and great news for SK Gaming. So Fogged is having a hell of a game at that bottom lane. 43-26 creep farm, as well as a 3-1 hero kill score. Back at the top lane now. Just having trouble catching some of this action here.
Good.
There's just action that really is picking up now in this game, but Voodoo Jester went down right there. Again, the stun's just oh so powerful, and really, that's the thing with Sandra too. He doesn't really have too much he can do himself other than just, you know, stab them with that little dagger of his, especially early on in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I haven't quite mentioned is that the warding that SK has been doing has just been so helpful in getting them these ganks. You see, not only does this little ward by B-Kid block, or B-Diz block that creep spawn, but also get some nice vision on Yoda right here. And they've actually used that spot to get a couple kills. And then Fogged at the bottom lane, you saw him put a nice little ward of sight up by the tower that's just outside tower range, but still does allow him some extra little sight for those ganks. Not only perhaps from Chipper, but also using himself. You know, he needs that sight for the money shot to work, and that allows him to keep sight.
Yeah, we definitely see several wards like that, but the one you're referring to is looking at it right now, just out of range of the tower, of course, but gives him that sight for the money shot like you suggested, so very good ward placement right there.
That top one got counter-warded too.
Yeah, it did. It did. We see one now from EG currently as it's going to get counter-warded right here. Yeah, there we go. So, smart play from SK Gaming. Weary of expecting that. And they take it out as a result. I was going to say, again, so EG, because especially that slow start from Forsaken Archer compared to both Flint Beastwood and Forsaken Archer, EG, they need a great game at least out of Wretched Hag. And, you know, Chu not doing horrible by any means. He is level 10, which is tied for the tops in the game with that Flint Beastwood, and it's currently 4-0. So definitely is getting that really good game when you look at it for EG. So that is good news. But at the same time, you do not want to let either Forsaken Archer or Flint Beastwood get too out of hand early on in this game either. Obviously, Flint Beastwood, he's working on an early Geometer Spain, has the Quick Blade already. As far as Forsaken Archer is concerned, picking up a Mighty Blade after going the Ring of the Teacher and Ghost Marchers, I would think that would be for a Shrunken Head with this matchup here. Could be an Icebrand, of course, but I would believe Shrunken Head, but we'll have to wait and see which route.
Higher bottom of the map empty right now.
Except for Flint Beastwood. Yeah, he's the only one down there. But speaking of that action on that top lane, here we go. Fisher's not going to come out blocking them. And that Bat Blast didn't seem like it was too successful. It wasn't enough to take out Myrmidon, though. Sandwraith put it in the nuke as well. Ultimate going to be used by Behemoth just before he gets taken out. Look at that. Forsaken Archer also gets chopped up. But here is Flint Beastwood. He might be in some trouble, though. He gets stunned. In comes Bubbles out of nowhere. And that Voodoo Chester ultimate helps set up the kill. Forsaken Archer going to use his ultimate. Not going to get a kill, however. Everyone on EG is still alive. Holy crap. That was a pretty chaotic fight, but somehow they all managed to stay alive. It is not over just yet. Wretched Egg wants yet another kill. He dives way past the tower, and he will get that kill. 6 hero kills and 2 assists right now. Myrmidon charges on. The look at that, the take cover used. He avoids. Oh, he cannot avoid the Magic Carp, though. The damage at least gets the kill, and Wretched Hag is just going to blink out of there, noticing that's just too much pressure going to happen, and best to get out of there while he is ahead. So great fight right there from EG. They did have the early numbers advantage. It was 5 vs 4, and Flint Beast had poured it in there, but already 1 or 2 heroes were down after that, after he did pour it in, or before he did pour it in, excuse me. And that just was not going to work out for SK Gaming. Angry Tessie tries to get Chu right there, but of course that blink ability makes it oh so difficult, and yet another rune going to be bottled up by Chu. So this is why he is so dominant on this hero. This is why we see it banned even against EG, despite not being banned against other teams. And yeah, so EG, you know, despite the farming game not necessarily working out for them with the Sandwraith especially, but Wretched Hag doing a hell of a job to make things work out well.
Yeah, I'm amazed how smoothly that team fight went for EG with all those initiation abilities between the blink and, you know, the kelp field and all that. Just SK really didn't have an answer for it, and especially with the the illusions of Sandwraith beating on them, they just didn't seem to know what to do in that situation. And down goes literally half their team. Fog once again kills off Chu actually in the bottom lane. Bubbles wasn't there, and a little bit of help I think from Myrmidon, but really great there to kill off Wretched Hag. That's a kill they desperately needed to get with Chu running rampant around the entire map. There's a snipe onto Sandwraith in the top lane, a heal and a volley, but here comes a swap and a stun for, oh, there we go. There's the Desert Curse. They're going to try and jump onto Behemoth here through the trees as Sandwraith putting out some damage with that dagger. Going to drop him. There is a volley on top of Andromeda, and he's going to get a counter kill there. Here comes the support, though, from SK, and they're going to kill off Voodoo Jester as well. Double tap for Tralf on Forsaken Archer, so very good news for them. Good counter kill, but Bubbles isn't making this isn't ready for this to finish. There's the kelp field and everything on top of the wheat field, and down goes Tralf as a result. Good job by Bubbles jumping in there as a at the very end to finish off the double killing Forsaken Archer.
Yeah, that was interesting. Really kind of a long action sequence there, but in the end, kill on Forsaken Archer, not too bad, as Wretched Hag is roaming around in the meantime. Going to look to dive on this middle tower. Flint Beast able to take out the bottom tower. Speaking of towers, and also Mike going to kill on Voodoo Jester. No, going to end up turning around. Does not have enough mana for his money shot, or very likely could have gotten that kill. He was, however, just delivered his Firebrand. And that's what I was talking about earlier. An early Geometer's Bane on Flint Beast can be a very scary thing. Wretched Hag forced to port out herself after Forsaken Archer ports into the tower to save it. Wretched Hag, speaking of her, because of her early farm, despite that death, still by all means doing a hell of a job picking up a Blessed Orb as a result of it. So curious, what is the thought process behind going with that? Of course, it could be the Sheep Stick, or it could be a Nullstone. You look at the Legion team, has a couple of purposes, so we would see, obviously, Money Shot being a big one of those, but we'll see if it turns out to be a Sheep Stick. Sheep Stick would. I think with the game he's having, honestly,
Sheep Stick.
Yeah, and how aggressive he's playing and how aggressive he needs to play, I think a Sheep Stick would make a little bit more sense. He's going to initiate on a Behemoth in the meantime at the top lane. Fidget's not going to come out. He has support coming. He might be able to survive this. And yes, he's going to. Chipper and Myrmidon join the party. Focus Buffer put on Behemoth right there. And it's going to scare off the Hellborn team that were making their way over there, but just could not get there in time. So at least, though, just because he's not getting kills, he is causing enough pressure to make them fall back and miss it on some farm and whatnot. We do have another pause here from EG. That is actually their last pause of the game, so I believe we just have now a total of 2 pauses left for SK Gaming, so let's kind of cross our fingers and hopefully no more mistakes happen or disconnects or I got to go AFK moments.
Yeah, Yoda does have the highest ping in the game at 133, or at least I just checked ping all. Everyone else is around 30 or 40, but I don't know, he's been disconnecting a couple times. I hope there's no computer problems or anyone, any smart Alex messing with him, so hopefully not. But it could just be a strategy pause. But the game has gotten a lot closer since we were last talking about it. Of course, it's now 12-11 in favor of SK. It was up to almost a 5-kill difference there for a little while. But they do SK does have a decent gold lead at this point in the game. That's 3,500 as a result of the tower kill in the bottom lane. So that's been very good for them. Yeah, there he goes. He times out once again. That's not good for EG. Not good for them. I don't know if they have anyone who can step in for game 2. I hope so.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about the roster. Obviously, Fuji Apples is normally the starter, but clearly he isn't here because he's not in this game. So that leaves him with, I believe, would pretty much be Pokédex, would be the only other player on the roster, and whether or not he's even around, don't even know, of course. So, but yeah, hopefully it's, especially with just so much on the line and this being such a big match, our first biggest match that we've had in 3 or 4 weeks or so, and for to have something like this happen would kind of suck. But just cross your fingers and hope for the best. I will say this much: we've never really had a problem before where a player DC isn't able to come back. I mean, I honestly cannot recall whether there's ever been a moment where a player DC is in a competitive match like this and they have to play 4 vs 5 as a result. Maybe way back in the day, but definitely not recently in the last 6 months or so. So that's kind of good news in that sense. But it is a computer game after all, and technical issues happen. It's just the life of an esport.
Absolutely. It is. It certainly is. Even GSL has experienced some nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Here comes Yoda back, though, so that's good news. At least he's on his way back in.
Yeah, he's connecting now.
Tons of gold saved up on the carries, by the way.
We do have 1,800 plus on Forsaken, so again, whether or not she goes for an Icebrand or Shrunken with that Mighty Blade, we'll see. In terms of some other people, Fogged has over 1,000 gold saved up, so again, he's going to be saving up for that Blessed Orb, of course, and then looking to turn that into a Geometer's Bane. And then on the Hellborn side, we got B-Kid on Sandwraith, currently 1,600 plus gold saved up. They do have a Helm of the Black Legion, as that would be kind of hilarious. But he accidentally votes to concede right there. Meant to actually resume, but yeah. No, obviously that was just a joke, though. But yeah, so Helm of the Black Legion.
I just thought it was a pause.
Yeah, that would have been really sad at the same time. Would have been funny, but it would have been like, wow, did that really just happen? Did they really just concede? No, but so he has a Helm with the Black Legion, and he's saving up for something else. Again, we were actually talking about this earlier when we did our earlier daily cast today. We had Fresh Pro on. We did have a Sandwraith in the game, and he was mentioning how he thinks the ideal build, or pretty much every time build, should be as. By the way, there's actually in the middle lane, Chu dropping fast, but he's not going to be able to go down as he blinks away in time, and Foodie Jester there to throw out the Mojo. The tower was denied as well, so good job right there from Trafalmador and the SK Gaming players. But back to Sandwraith. He suggested Helm of the Black Legion is pretty much a necessity, and then he prefers to see a Mock of Brilliance pretty much after that every time. So, in this case, though, Sandwraith actually picking up a Blood Chalice, so wants to get a little bit of that regen as well as some minor stats for early on. But what B-Kid will do, we'll have to wait and see. He has around 1,500 gold currently saved up. And then there's Chu on Wretched Hag, who has around 1,300 plus. Again, whether or not he goes for a Nullstone or Sheepstick, would think a Sheepstick, but could be either or. Swapped around a Behemoth in the middle lane just before the initiation, though. That might have screwed them more than helped them. Oh, but the mini stun from the Keltfield is going to keep him from pointing out, and Behemoth will be going down here. He had a chance for an ultimate, perhaps, but it wasn't worth using it, so he just goes down anyways, and he ends up going down. But Andromeda was taken out in the process, so I think that could have been run a little bit smoother. But the coordination was a little bit off there, unfortunately, and ends up sacrificing Andromeda's life for a kill on Behemoth. But yeah, despite great, very aggressive play from Wretched Hag early on, it's a gold advantage still in favor as a team for SK Gaming. The experience, though, is pretty much identical, and really as expected, we're getting a very even, very entertaining game here with SK Gaming versus EG Game 1 in the best out of 3 series.
Yeah, that swap in that last fight was not very good from Yoda. Obviously, almost saved Behemoth's life. Luckily, Bubbles was there to throw down his ultimate. Obviously, not an ultimate you want to use on one hero, but here comes Fog, gonna destroy this tower in the middle lane. But it's been pretty action packed after a certain minute mark. Ever since then, we've just seen nonstop action, and like you said, Chu has been farming really nicely. 489 gold experience per minute, 347 gold per minute. But if you look out through the rest of the team, it's especially on the carry B kid, he's doing well. But you look at Fogged on the other side, going to be the main hero that's SK taking into the late game. Much better, almost even with Chu, and of course Flint's gonna be a little bit more dangerous as the game gets on.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier on. Sandwich, it's kind of funny because he's not necessarily the greatest farming hero, because obviously he's really just all single target damage. He doesn't have that strong. He does have his Curse of the Desert's Curse, which can be used for farming, but more so use it just for seeing to get away from initiations and ganks, or even use it to gank. But this seems to happen a lot, though, because early game that we've seen it, as I mentioned, from when it was happening, Beacon was struggling when it came to farm. The tri-lane was not working out well for them, really, as expected. The SK tri-lane was definitely having the advantage. I mean, it was decent creep pulls and whatnot from EG, but they could only do so much, and it was a Forsaken Archer had a 20-25 creep farm advantage over Sandwraith, but you look at right now, he is in this bottom lane. He has been down in this bottom lane for about 2 minutes now, and no one from the Legion team has even been thought about going to the bottom lane. They're pretty much all occupied here at the top side in the middle. So Beacon right now is getting a very good free farm. Yes, it's maybe a little bit because the first tower's down and he's taking advantage of the push that's happening, but it's scary because he is working towards that Sword of the High, and he's going towards that Mock of Brilliance, which the Mock of Brilliance, Helm of the Black Legion combination, you press your R button as Sandwraith going into team fights, and you're doing a hell of a lot of damage, especially, pre 30-minute mark. And, against this Legion team, who frankly is fairly squishy. They don't really have that tanky hero. They do have Focus Buffer, which definitely will be very useful from Chipper. It is level 4 currently. That absorbs 600 magic damage. Probably put that on a hero like Flint Beastwood or Forsaken Archer, of course. That will help, but I would still be very worried if I was SK Gaming. Despite the early game advantage, it seems like it's kind of slipping away in the sense because Sandwraith is getting such a powerful farm.
I'm not sure I would quite say that. He's still quite behind on farm on almost every important hero on SK's side. I mean, he's only got 79 creep kills now to over 100 for both Forsaken Archer and Flint Beastwood, of course. Sandwraith certainly a hero that can get way out of hand if you let him farm, but I don't think they'll let that happen. Magikarp going out in Bubbles in the top lane, but definitely Sandwraith obviously is going to be going for that mock, and he is quite dangerous when that happens. But I think that EG needs a little bit more before they're firmly entrenched in the lead that they obviously are shooting for.
All right, so Shrunken Head was finished on Forsaken Archer, by the way, so choosing to go that instead of the Iceman, like we were talking about earlier, whether or not which one he would go. But yeah, the Shrunken Head, it makes sense. I mean, this Legion team, not only for the CC, but as we just referred to, Sandwraith, especially when he gets that Mock of Brilliance. The Shrunken Head, of course, will stop his dispersion damage, the Mock of Brilliance damage, and that's a good amount. But he might be in a little bit of trouble here. Oh, no, but he activates the Shrunken Head as soon as he gets swapped, and Andromeda just gets melted right there. Jumping into the fight, though, is Sandwraith with the ultimate. And Flint Beast are trying to run away. Sandwraith chasing really deep past them. We do have two players dropping just like that for the Legion team. Forsaken Archer dropping fast. He's going to go down as well. Flint Beast had already killed, and now Bubbles, he gets stunned. However, he's in some trouble. Chipper there to finish him off. Curse, though, onto Chipper. Wretched Ag chasing. Wretched Ag doesn't even care about Chipper. He wants to kill onto Myrmidon. Wants to get this genocide right here. Myrmidon activates his ultimate, generating a little bit more life. Knocking him out of though. Down he goes. Chu gets a serial killer streak, and they also get the yay for AKA the genocide right there for EG. So they're going to be able to push the secondary top tower. And, Sandwraith doesn't need a Mock of Brilliance to be useful, of course, even with that dispersion alone. And that ultimate just can cause so much scatter, so much confusion, and can be oh so powerful. And just really just good coordination overall from the Hellborn team. Excellent Bat Blast from Wretched Hag. And they easily come through with that fight with the genocide. They only lost Bubbles, I believe. They might have lost actually one or two more. Probably resurrected, but...
they did.
Yeah, so... But Sandwraith and Wretched Hag both survive, which are obviously the big-time important heroes, and that's really what matters. And they're also going to clean up the Ancients here from SK Gaming that were at least double-stacked. And so SK is going to, unfortunately, not be able to use that to their advantage. And B-Kid, I believe, yes, the Mocker Brilliance is being delivered to him. So you figure that was tough dealing with him without a Mocker Brilliance that fight. Now deal with the Mocker Brilliance. And also, you're going to have to deal with the Sheepstick finished on Wretched Hag. Things are looking a lot better right now for EG.
Yeah, that right there was what they needed. All of a sudden, they've got an 8,000 experience lead and a 3,000 gold lead. That was exactly what they needed. And then the courier gets killed for SK, which is unfortunate, but they do get a kill on Dodo, so that's a positive. That Fog gets that kill. But SK can really turn most of this around with something as simple as a barrier idol. Barrier idol counters pretty much the entirety of EJ. There's very little they can do. Obviously, Sandwraith would then need to get some sort of an orb to be able to counter that, but almost all of their damage is magical. And a barrier idol is a very simple, very easy item to farm up, and that would just absolutely kill them.
Yeah, it definitely would be a very powerful item, and a hero like Myrmidon or Chipper could be the ideal heroes for that. More so Chipper, because he actually is getting a somewhat decent farm. Myrmidon really isn't having too much, again being the support hero that he is, being played by Beatus here. Not looking too good. But speaking of Chipper, by the way, being played by Angry Testy, he is working on that staff for the Master, so of course wants to get that finished first. But we'll see what he chooses to go to after that. But getting that staff in the Master, and no doubt will be big. You look at the teams, it's tough to say, because of course I love the Behemoth ultimate, obviously, for those team fights. So that's unfortunate. So Yoda is asking for a pause here. So we're down to one pause
ping
now.
All. Do ping all.
It won't work now. I'm paused. What was it at though?
812 for Yoda.
Yeah. That's pretty bad.
That's really weird. I don't know why that's happening. I mean, EG's very lucky that they're doing as well as they are right now.
Yeah.
Because if they lose a hero, it's bad. Especially a long-range stunner like Andromeda. That swap is so very important.
Oh, I mean, and his aura, too. The Aurora and the aura, I mean, those are huge.
Yeah, well, the aura is amazing.
Yeah, those are big. So that would be unfortunate to lose such a hero. Like I said, I've never really encountered that before, having it drop to a 4 vs 5 as a result.
I can't imagine. I can't think of a time.
We will hope. It is game one, by the way. If you are just tuning in, I know we're getting more and more viewers as time goes on. We're still in game one here, so this is game one of the GosuGamers.net World Cup. We are in the losers bracket finals. It's been about 3 weeks since this was supposed to happen. Now it's finally happening tonight. Though it's a best out of 3 series, so it's game one here. The winner of this series moves on to play Fnatic MSI in the grand finals, where they'll compete for the $10,000 first place prize. That's a funny message. First place prize, and $5,000 for second place, and then if you lose here, though, you'll finish third, but you still get $3,000 for finishing third. So a lot of money. Adds up to $18,000 between just these 3 teams alone. It was a total of $40,000 plus prizes and everything that has happened throughout this whole event. So just so much money. Definitely appreciate GosuGamers.net for running this, and we are actually casting on behalf of GosuGamers.net tonight. So, but of course, also check out Honcast.com and for videos and whatnot of other casts and other tournament coverage. But yeah, GosuGamers is definitely an awesome site and worth checking out as well, of course. But sitting in this pause, Yoda has unfortunately had trouble this whole game in terms of latency issues. We're down to 1 pause in total now, and that being on SK Gaming side. So hopefully Yoda comes back sooner than later, and hopefully everything, cross your fingers once again that it all works out, because I just would really hate to see it come down to something like that, but he is now reconnected. All right. He does apologize at least. So Yoda is a good guy, by the way. I met him a couple times actually.
Yes, he is.
Met him at the Intel LAN Fest way back in the day when we are pigs, or Check 6 actually, I think at that time. Anyways. So, the game is now resumed. Chipper might be in some trouble. Yes, he is. Wretched Hag jumps in right away. The Sheepstick goes out. There goes the Acid Cocktail, and down goes Angry Testy.
Oh, and the Hellborns get the kill.
Right, that's a positive. Yeah, Hellborn got the kill. The goal to split. It's not necessarily the worst thing, obviously, but it is a kind of unfortunate. But they also got the tower kill. That's important. Zabuska getting credit for it. Very, very good game coming right out of that pause right there. on to Chipper. So bottom push going to be happening right now. In the meantime, Sandwraith, he's just farming the top jungle. That's what makes him so effective as well, because he doesn't need to be with you. He just presses his R button, all of a sudden he's with you, if need be. So he could just sit here farming the top lane while the rest of the guys push the bottom lane, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Legion team setting up a little bit of a defense. Of course, it's 4-4 because Chipper is still waiting for his resurrection after getting taken out. Forsaken Archer out in front, having that shrunken head, feeling a little bit more confident. Behemoth going to charge in as well, throwing out the Fissure Stun, the trap on a Wretched Hag now. Will they have enough damage? No, a nice swap from Andromeda right there. Oh, the Forsaken Archer ultimate, not going to be enough to kill him. Was really close, though. Sandwraith ports in now. This is working things. Could get dangerous. Chipper's going to port in, though, and could be kind of a counter. Out comes the oil. The focus buffer on him as well. He's able to take that damage. Sandwraith dropping fast. Down goes Sandwraith. Bat Blast coming up for Wretched. Only hitting Chipper, though, as Myrmidon charges back in. They want this kill on Wretched Hag, and the Magic Carp not going to hit him, though. Down goes Chipper from the Voodoo Jester ultimate in the process, and Voodoo Jester and Wretched Hag going to meet up. Out goes the Mojo, and they're going to kind of get a little bit of regen here and look to keep pushing. It even looks like Fissure Stun comes out from Behemoth. Right now it is a 2 versus 2, and yes, EG will fall back, especially to this middle tower, or they're going to look to defend it a little bit as a creep push was happening. So SK Gaming, not too shabby of a job of setting up a defense there and doing pretty good. Wretched Hag barely got away. That Forsaken Archer ultimate nearly took his life. One more tick probably would have done the job, but he was able to just get out of range of it.
Yeah, and also wrong target there as SK stepped up to try and kill Wretched Hag. The Magikarp obviously got blinked away, but then Voodoo Jester was just standing there. He's like, okay, I guess I'll use my ultimate. That's cool. So, 3 kills at that point. Obviously the stunner right there, the guy with the stun and the not blink ability does survive and get those kills. So obviously True's very dangerous with Hag, but at that low life I doubt he was going to jump in and do any more damage. But besides that, EG's really taking advantage of the situations that SK has been giving them. Obviously that small pick-off in the bottom lane led to a tower and almost a second tower and a pretty solid team fight in EG's favor. So they've been playing very well, and they have a solid lead at this point. And now is when B-Kid is on Sandwraith is starting to get a little crazy. He's brought the farm up tenfold with that Maka Brilliance. It's like you don't even need the last hit. He's now the top farmer in the game, creep kill wise. He just needs to stand around things and they die, and that's the glory of Maka Brilliance and what makes Sandwraith one of those slippery slope kind of heroes. Once he gets that item, it's really hard to stop him from doing anything.
Yeah, he scales so well for the late game. Oh, Wretched Hag gets jumped on right here. The triple stun, and yes, it's going to be enough. Great timing right there from Behemoth. Opens with the ultimate, then falls with a stomp, and then the Weed Field and Magic Carp from Myrmidon sets up a kill on Chu. That's only his second death of the game. But a big kill because he's level 18. He's over a minute resurrection timer, and this is where SK Gaming need to absolutely capitalize. Of course, Sandwraith is still very scary, but Wretched Hag very, very scary. And with him dead, they need to look to make a counter push, need to get some more kills. Something has to happen. They cannot just sit back and farm. They need to take advantage of this. Currently, though, Forsaken Archer is farming the bottom lane. 4 of the other players are in the middle area, so they're not really going to make a push. They're not going to go for Congo or anything. They're actually just going to kind of farm, I guess, and not look to capitalize off such a big kill. Bubbles, in the meantime, he's just farming his own in the bottom jungle, but he realizes that Cardinal's there on Behemoth and decides it's best to fall back. But speaking of that, though, Behemoth, of course, has his portal key, as we saw right there, and I actually wanted to talk about this earlier. Obviously, Behemoth, when it comes to team fights, Behemoth is huge for team fights if he gets that good ultimate off, and that is big. You factor in the Sandwraith ultimate as well. The only problem with that is, though, if the Sandwraith ultimate is used, he cannot then use the portal key because, of course, that'll deactivate the portal key, and he'll not be able to jump on top of them. So that's kind of can be considered a counter to that, to the portal key in general with the Sandwraith ultimate. But if you can get it off just before and get a little bit of a cluster right there, will be very, very effective, of course. And then you also have Chipper with the Staff of the Master ultimate, which he still doesn't have, unfortunately. He just keeps on dying. But once he gets that Staff of the Master, excuse me, he will be pretty good in terms of assisting in those team fights, and that slow from the ultimate can be very, very dangerous to go up against.
Yeah, that ultimate is it's really, really hard to deal with, and especially with the slow. combination, with what all what Chipper does, it just makes him really, really, really difficult to deal with, and that's what makes that hero so good. But Behemoth, like you were saying about his ultimate, if SK does group up upon the activation of the Sandwraith ultimate, he can probably kill off the illusions by using that ultimate at that point. And that really, obviously, the ultimate is such an important ability, but Sandwraith's illusions more so. Finishing them off would be very helpful in that team fight.
So really kind of slowed down. This game was started off really slow. We got around the 5-6 minute mark. Finally started to really pick up. A lot of back and forth action, but now once again we're now at the 33 minute mark. It's been slowed down. Am I lagging? No, I don't believe so. I'm fine.
You're just erratic talking. I don't know, maybe.
Vent sometimes it does spike occasionally. It could have been Vent. But
all right.
So yeah. But yeah, it slowed down, and we're kind of in that farming stage. But again, that is a big advantage for the Hellborn team with a hero like Sandwraith. He's not a type of hero that you want to compete against when it comes to a farming game, especially with the heroes that the Legion team has. Definitely Flint Beast with a Forsaken Archer can capitalize off good farm, but I think it's safe to say not necessarily comparable to a hero like a Sandwraith with the farm that he has. And in fact, he just picked up a barbed armor as well. So, good luck attacking him as well as using all your abilities. He's going to be shooting back a lot of damage between his disperse and that barbed armor, of course, when he activates it. So that's pretty scary now for the Legion team, as well as the armor that it provides. Again, you look at Flint Beast with Forsaken, obviously rely heavily on physical damage. Nice little armor buff, always useful. Flint Beast, by the way, he picks up another Blessed Orb. So I would guess Nullstone at this point. Obviously, I apologize. Wow, I thought,
what?
Yeah, never mind. He went Frostburn. I for some reason thought he went Geometer's Bane first. Yeah. I expected that.
He's gonna break up the Frostburn.
Yeah, and then of course go Frost of Skull, Geometer's Bane. That is a typical build.
Yep.
On a Flint Beast wood. And then we have Forsaken Archer, who has a Firebrand herself. I would guess, of course, a Geometer's Bane, but working on that. Hasn't had a good early game farm. Still slowed down a little bit, but not doing too bad now. Did he finally finish it? Yes, he did. Okay, good. So yeah, they got that to work with now. So Behemoth, he's going to try to set himself up here. You see him hiding in the jungle. He's ready to use that Portal Key ultimate combination. But, of course, the Hellborn team, they're very weary. And look at their spread. They are not allowing Behemoth to get any good opportunity for an ultimate. Right now, Voodoo Jester, the only one in the lane with Wretched Hag nearby. But we got Bubbles kind of playing behind and Andromeda just sitting in the way back, waiting to maybe swap one of his teammates. But there we go. Behemoth finds a timing. Perfect ultimate right on top of Voodoo Jester and Wretched Hag. Wretched Hag barely gets away just in time with the blink. And now Behemoth trying to get out of there. Got to catch on to Andromeda. Down he goes. Bubbles taking the ultimate right there. But Sandwraith doing his damage. But now he's getting caught. He's getting chain slowed. This could be big for SK Gaming. But Wretched Hag, what a Pat Blast right there. He just cleaned up right there and he survives. Down goes 4 players. Flint Beast are going to go down as well. That's going to be a genocide for EG. No, Forsaken Archer just popped back. He ports back in, but holy crap. Chu ends up going down in the end. But wow, what a bad blast. I believe that hit all 5 heroes right there and got 2 right away, a 3rd later on. And that was just huge, 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 huge. So we ended up with a hat trick. And look at this. The players are feeling confident now despite not having the most life. They're going to come back and finish the tower and maybe even keep on pushing. Forsaken Archer, the only one up currently. That's because he bought back, so had to use the money for that. Wow, that was really big for EG. SK Gaming looked like they had a good chance up there. It was a very, very good ultimate initiation from Cardinal and Behemoth like we're talking about, but they could not kill. If Wretched Hag died right there, that fight no doubt would have been completely 100% different.
Yeah, and she almost did. That was an absolutely flawless ultimate with Cardinal, and he's been really on the ball all game with those. But now, the swing on that game was so crazy, and like you said, just that one little placement error, and all 5 of SK's heroes are standing in his little area, and she's like, "Hey, I'll bat blast you, sure." And down he goes, and as a result, they get a Kongor kill out of it. So EG and Sandwraith, of course, now you have to kill Sandwraith twice. Uh-oh. And this is where Sandwraith gets out of hand. And people joke about Sandwraith being being auto win sometimes, because you can get him to a point where it's not impossible to kill him, and now to kill him twice, it's just so frustrating. I'm sure it's going to be for SK to do much against him at all.
Yeah, I kind of on you as well. They're gonna try to drop him right. Yes, they get the kill on Wretched Egg right there. Once again, the great initiation. Bubbles is gonna be able to get away. Sandwraith did not, but I thought he almost ported in right there. That would have been scary, but no, he does not actually port it in. Those are just the illusions. But so that's what they were looking for before. They get it this time, but yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's got to be just such a downer. I mean, if they got that kill on Wretched Hag, they would have easily won that team fight, saved the tower, and made a little bit of a pushback perhaps right there. And we would not be talking about the token alive on Sandwraith. I mean, there'd be so many factors, but it just shows you how just one team fight like that, one really small thing of just not able to kill a certain hero can just completely turn around the whole game as a whole. So it's got to be a downer definitely for SK Gaming, but they're not going to let it affect them too much. I mean, they got the kill on Wretched Hag here now. They pushed the secondary middle tower, and it looks like they're still feeling confident as we see them now moving towards the top lane. In fact, Forsaken Archer and Myrmidon at least going to cut up there and look to keep pushing up there. Forsaken Archer, by the way, picking up a Hungry Spirit, so going to be finishing an Abyssal Skull before going the Geometer Bean route. I guess Trapondor's farm is, with those 6 deaths, perhaps keeps slowing him down a little bit when it comes to overall gold, so figures he could get a little bit more survivability. Nice aura effect for the team instead of going straight for that Blessed Orb he needs for the Geometer's Bane.
Geometer's Bane.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Bubbles farming also very well this game, by the way. Does have a sheep stick to go with a portal key. You do see him with a portal key here. It's makes Bubbles just all that much more annoying. Instead of having to rely on the shell to get into team fights, you can just pop on in there and then use the shell for pure damage, or as initiation, or as continued initiation during the fights during a chase. So that's always a good pickup for him. He's had that for a while, but didn't feel like bothering him. I don't know if we have another God Yoda.
Oh wow. Well, that's the last pause of the game.
Frostwolf finished on Flint now.
Yeah. Calling it back right there. Well, that's the last pause, so it's this is it. He needs to get that hopefully fixed, and EG is probably thinking to themselves, we need to end this game fast, because we would hate to have Andromeda DC Foley and not be able to use them and get screwed as a result of that. But we will see. It is kind of funny, by the way. I mean, I'm sure the latency has definitely been playing a role, but Andromeda is still level 9. That's just bad. Still level 9, 40 minutes into the game. I mean, the next closest is level 13 Myrmidon. But yeah, Yoda's farm just has not been anywhere. I mean, he does have a couple of bracers, power supply straters, and he's getting the job done on that, and he's been the ward bitch, so at least he's been getting that job done. Shrunken Head picked up on Wretched Hag, so that's obviously going to help for if he does happen to get caught out again, being able to activate that. The Shrunken Head, on Voodoo Jester as well. Very popular item in this game. And Sandwraith, at this point, probably just saving enough for buybacks. Obviously, he doesn't really have any slots left, unless he wants to sell that Mystic Vestments, but I wouldn't see why. He's definitely very powerful.
He get upgraded.
Apparently, Fuji Apple's video card blew up. That's why he's not playing. That's unfortunate.
That is certainly unfortunate. Happy faces all around.
Yeah, I mean, respect to SK. It's obviously good sportsmanship to throw out these pauses, too, knowing that they're not going to be able to use them on themselves if they need it, which that would be unfortunate. You talk about... I don't even want to get into that. Okay. But, so yeah, if you are just tuning in once again, as we are at our 6th and, well, has to be our final pause of the game, because there's literally no other way to pause it. This is game one here in the best out of 3 series. We got SK versus EG, the classic rivalry here for the States. They're taking on each other in the GosuGamers World Cup Losers Bracket Finals. The winner of this plays Fnatic MSI in the Grand Finals, where they'll have a chance to compete for $10,000 first place prize. You lose here, you're done. You finish third place, but you still go home with $3,000. So, again, there's a lot of money on the line. $18,000 alone between these 3 teams, Fnatic, MSI, EG, and SK. It's been such a great... the event has been going on, I believe, for something like 5, maybe even 6 months now. I mean... obviously, it started with the preliminaries, the qualification for each section. We're talking about like Southeast Asia, North America, South America, the European, Eastern European, Western European, Africa, even South Africa. I mean, there's just all these different sections, and obviously got us down to, I believe, it was 64 for the main event, and the main event was in a double elimination tournament. I mean, you talk about just a tough tournament to run, really, especially online. GosuGamers managed to do it. They really did. So again, props to them for doing so. And we are now down here to the final 3 teams. We have now resumed. So again, hope for the best. Hopefully, Yoda's going to be fine. And we finish off with what already has been a hell of a game. We finish off with a bang here.
Yeah, Whispering Helm, by the way, on Forsaken Archer, not that Abyssal Skull, despite having that Ring of the Teacher beforehand.
Okay, so yeah, going that route instead. Needing the survivability on that lifesteal and the extra damage, of course, and the armor, in fact. Several purposes.
The armor is very helpful in the damage. But I don't know, I mean, Abyssal Skull does provide the same exact amount of armor, actually. And the 15% base damage is very helpful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, though. Definitely that barrier idol still would be a very, very big pickup, I agree, even at this point. But no one even has a Mystic Vestments, let alone a Shaman's Headdress. So we do have a Sandman activating the ultimate right there. Going to actually catch the Legion team off guard a little bit. They're going to start running away. Wretched blinks in, though, and they're going to fight beyond the tower even. The tower is being pushed by the creep wave. They don't care, though. The tower will go down in the end as they applied enough pressure right there. Sandwich does not have his ultimate now, though, so if timing was anything here for the Legion team, this would be the time. They have 100 seconds, so a minute and a half pretty much, so it gets down to 90 seconds before they need to worry about that Sandwich ultimate, which is definitely a big, big ultimate, of course. So they are going to kind of make a little bit of a pushback here. They're very weary of that. Of course, they lost a tower, but want to make a pushback and try to make the best of it. Sandwich, of course, still has a token of life, by the way. Now 5.5 minutes remaining on it with the item build he has. I mean, he finished his Frost with Skull, actually. So, yeah, he is damn powerful. And very scary. But not having that ultimate does slow him down a little bit. Geometer's Bane still being worked on at Flint so he's got that Frost with Skull finish as we talked about. And I'm sure it's going to be the same for Forsaken Archer. So if they can manage to get those Geometer Banes, you know, if they manage to get a great Cardinal Behemoth ultimate initiation like they've had a couple of times in this game, things could be interesting, but it's definitely easier said than done. But look at this, the Fidget's trying to catch Richard. Can they give him chain stun? No, the Shrugganet is activated, and he's going to be able to get away, and maybe even a turnaround right here. Behemoth in some trouble, Sheepstick onto him, Andromeda with the swap right there. Behemoth gets annihilated in the process. Chipper kind of caught out as well. He's also going to drop. Sandwraith runs in with that barbed armor activated. Andromeda was picked off. Flint Beast would kind of get caught in the middle of them right there, and down he goes. Forsaken Archer trying to point out, no, but the mini stun from the Kelp field stops him. Down he goes, and that is exactly what SK Gaming did not want. Oh man, I mean, it's a good idea of trying to jump Wretched Hag right there, but now with that shrunken head, she's able to activate that and survive and then turn it around with the team. So that's a big no-no there for SK Gaming, and of course EG going to capitalize with the pushback themselves.
Yeah, just EG has the far, far better team fight just on the basis of the fact that they're just more AoE-centric than SK is. SK's far more single target than maybe they should be. I mean, obviously the only person with any kind of an AoE ultimate, I guess, is, well, people will say Testy and Cardinal, but besides that, they're mostly single target spells. There's Behemoth with an amazing ultimate chopping right in on Voodoo. There's the stun as well. They're going to finish off several heroes here. here. The port out by Wretched Hag is pretty easy. Here's the barbed armor for Sandwraith trying to finish him off, but Myrmidon goes down as a result, but he does still have that token, so he's going to come back up. There's the attempted stun. The swap off, and Andromeda's going to take her own life as a result, possibly. There she goes. Sandwraith's still alive. There's going to try and chase down Forsaken Archer, putting some damage out with an illusion, and as well as possibly Flint Beastwood. B-Kid gets a hat trick there. Only 2 heroes left, both very low. SK's in the fountain right now. Just B-Kid, even though he gets killed in that fight and is almost in very deep trouble, still manages to live just fine.
Oh, and apparently, did he lag out again? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that SK Gaming, they did lose a tower, but they did a very good job of holding them off there. They got the token of life used onto Sandwraith, and that was pretty good. So if they can, again, get a couple more fights like that and then manage to somehow get maybe some rack skills themselves, SK Gaming still is not out of this game yet. But you are dealing with the Sandwraith, so he doesn't have that token of life now, but he does have buyback money. And Wretched Hag does as well, to say the least. I mean, Wretched Hag currently has 6,300 gold saved up. Does have another item slot, so curious if he decides to buy anything with that. And that is a lot of gold, of course. You can pretty much buy anything at this point. We'll see. Sandwraith, he did not save up for buyback. Of course, he still will manage that buyback perhaps, but he picks up an Axe of the Malphite, so he's just going to go for full-out tanky. I mean, with that Frost of Skull, Barbed Armor, Helm of the Black Legion, and now a Behemoth's Heart, he will be exactly that, very, very tanky, as well as putting on a lot of damage. I mean, we saw last fight, that Dispersion on top of that Barbed Armor was just, Myrmidon just melted to it. Did she go Demonic Breastplate? Yeah, she did, so she just finished it straight up. That's a solid item. Really, more so for the defense rather than the offense, but even for the offense.
Well, it's more great for Sandwraith, too.
Yeah.
Adding that attack speed and taking away the armor, it's just amazing for Sandwraith.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously for both cases. It's good for both cases, really, because obviously it prevents a lot of the Forsaken Archer and Flint Beastwood damage with the +5 armor on himself and his team. That takes a little bit of a money shot right there from Flint Beastwood, but of course that's just for harassment. So pretty much we're at the case of SK Gaming. They're going to their turtle stage, which they pretty much have to. They're saying, EG, dive into us again. We'll fight you here, and we'll hope for the best, because that's definitely where they're going to be able to make things happen. Of course, with being kind of a clumped up, although the ramp is a little bit wider now, still fairly clumped up, and a good spot for Behemoth to jump in with an ultimate. What's that?
Love that change, by the way.
Oh, the ramp being wider? Yeah.
The wider ramps. Cardinal did just pick up his Storm Spirit, by the way, so another disable on SK's side, so that's a good positive for them. Obviously, being able to throw someone up in the air is very, very important, especially if it's someone as annoying as Sandwraith or Wretched Hag. And Sandwraith finishes his Behemoth Heart, just like that.
Yep.
Which, by the way, leaves him at 3,900 health.
Wow.
Unkillable.
That is ridiculous. That's definitely one of the highest life pulls I've seen ever.
And a lot of that's barbed armor is going to be on, and of course you're always taking the mock damage. And here comes the Kongor kills. He can't take it though. So you can keep this in mind. Sandwraith cannot.
Yeah, could drop his steam boots probably, if anything, but
yeah, but he's not gonna.
Yeah, probably not.
Wretched Hag is an open slot.
Yeah. Well, that's
and Vizrun, consequently.
Yeah, that's. I hate to say it, but finally we're probably at that point of this is going to be GG for EG, but we will see. I mean, it's
a huge golden experience lead.
Yeah, it really is overwhelming at this point. SK has definitely had their chances, but have not been able to pull through with it. EG, they're going to make what should be a final push right here if done correctly. Chipper, he is pushing the top lane a little bit, but of course needs to port back as soon as possible. And well, here we go. Wretched Hag taking some initial damage from that money shot. Of course, the Mojo being used to try to keep him alive. He is in Fizz currently, but there's a lot of Word of Revelation around. He's going to be able to port out before initiation happens, though. So he doesn't get caught out there. That would have been unfortunate. He does have the token of life still, but you don't want to waste it necessarily. Voodoo Jester gets kind of pushed up front. Andromeda, quick swap right there. Wasn't really anything happening, though. But just in case.
I love that crafty Minotaur up there.
That is from Forsaken Archer, yeah.
Stun.
Couldn't been controlling that.
Sitting up right above the tower, hoping for a stun.
Oh, look at this. Strucken running in. The money shot's going to... Oh, it doesn't kill him, actually. Oh, but the rocket will. Well, who cares about that? Here we go. The Bat Blast coming out from the Hellborn side from Wretched. Flint Beast being locked down with that Sheep Stick. Forsaken Archer is still alive, but she's back at the well already. Ultimate is still up for Behemoth. It wasn't even able to get that off. And Sandwraith was busy pushing the bottom lane in the meantime. So, yeah, this should be a GG concede here any minute now. The bottom is going to be completely cleared out, as well as the middle already being gone. There goes the Behemoth Ultimate. He actually kills Wretched Ag right there, but of course a token of life will bring her right back. And oh man, he dies in the air with the Storm Spirit activated. Not too often you see that. But the GGs are coming out, so EG will take game 1 here, and they'll be up 1-0 as a result. A very, very good game though, entertaining. Having 6 pauses did kind of slow down the momentum a little bit, but hey, again, it's a computer game. Technical issues happen, and thankfully, in the end, it didn't really necessarily determine the outcome, you could say. But congrats to EG, though. They take game 1, but it is a 3-game series, of course. And SK, if anything, I mean, they're of course showing that they can compete with EG, and will at the very least make this entertaining. Trying to be the underdog big victory here. So we'll see game 2 if we have a game 3 coming up, or if EG can wrap it up in 2. But as far as this first game goes, again, I was Breaky CPK or Shoutcasting Goes. Joining me was Xander KK Ken of the Honcast staff. And again, this was a presentation on behalf of GosuGamers.net. Again, thanks to them for hosting such a great tournament. It's been a lot of fun finally getting down to the end of it. And we'll see the winner of this series will play Fnatic MSI in the grand final. So looking forward to that. But game 2 going to be coming up next. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with that.